Broncos country, we are back. The first official episode of this season's crew after we have played an actual game. Boys, we've made it. For everybody out there, you got the Broncos and guys, part of the Elevated Pulse Sports family of podcasts, by the fans, for the fans, diehards only. Guys, I'm jazzed after that game last Friday. Can't wait for this Friday. We got a ton of spicy news and predictions to get into this week. Gents, how we doing?
Doing great.
Are we winning the Super Bowl? Way too early predictions?
I mean, we'll get into this, but the incredible depth that this team has, particularly on the defense, it certainly bodes well for a shot at the title.
I think so too. All right, let's get into the episode real quick here. Let's cover trivia. We'll jump into news, and then what we're really going to be kind of laying out is the new format going each week from here on out until we do our final end of season episode in late February, let's call it mid-February. So we'll be reviewing the last week's game. We'll play around with format just to keep things interesting. We'll probably start grading kind of different core units or positioning groups of each last game, look at all of our key plays of the game, any surprises. Obviously, we'll cover some injuries. Hopefully, we don't have many. And then we'll look ahead to the next week. A little bit different because we actually have training camp practices, so we get a little bit more access than in the regular season, but really excited for this one. So without further ado, let's jump into trivia, cover some league news, then we'll get into the recap of the Broncos-Falcons game from last week. So I have got the honor for trivia for this week. I've got a couple clues if we need it, but hopefully we can get there relatively quickly. It is Packers related this week, obviously, because we were playing the Packers this Friday evening. So here it goes. The Broncos own a Super Bowl victory over the Packers, and we have a winning all-time record in the series. So that's across regular season and then obviously the Super Bowl. But there's one specific thing the Broncos have never done against Green Bay in over 50 years of playing them. What is that one thing that we have never done against the Packers?
Based off of the way you're wording it, I'm just going to throw something out there. Is it we've never tied with them?
That would be too easy, but I like it.
Okay.
You know what? That's
yeah,
probably
actually, and
I don't think we've ever tied.
Yeah, Vince. I was thinking about that, Vince, as I went through. They actually did tie him back in 1987, 17-17. And it was right before the unfortunate player strike back in 87. So we tied him. And then I think, if I'm not mistaken, the next week we actually had the darkness of no games before they made the replacement players, which was a lot of ugliness in and of itself back then as well. So, man.
All right. So is it related to, like, I don't even quite know how to ask this. Is it related to like a specific facet of the game? Like, is it special teams related?
It is not related to the facet of a game.
Okay.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say they've never won in Green Bay.
Bingo.
Wow.
That was it.
Coach Cobb. Wonderful.
Well done.
Okay, so this is wild. When I was looking into this, I needed to try to find something obscure and out there. there was not a lot of good Broncos Packers preseason history that I could try to stump anybody on. We are the only team in the NFL that has never won in Wisconsin, specifically at Lambeau Field. Every other team has beat the Packers except the Broncos, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, a Super Bowl is never going to be played at Lambeau. The frozen tundra is probably not the most ideal place to host a Super Bowl. So I guess we never have to really face the Packers, obviously not in the playoffs and not in the Super Bowl. So an interesting one.
But at least we got the Lombardi over the Packers. That makes it worth it right there. So
100%. 100%.
Absolutely.
We've played them 17 times. And obviously again, the one postseason meeting in the Super Bowl. We've got a 9-7-1 edge, so that one tie. So pretty close, pretty even. Obviously, an NFC team. Don't play them too often. But Vince has got something on his head, which is so similar to what some of those diehard Packers fans have. The big old cheeseheads. I like Vince's a lot more, though.
Yeah. This is a relic from the 97-98 Super Bowl seasons. They sold these. This is the real true original, not the rebrands they did that was like sort of bulbous on the bottom. This is one of my all-time favorite Christmas presents. I got it in the year 2000. My dad bought it at Bill's Sports Collectibles, a well-known place off of Broadway, one of the biggest card shops in the entire country. But yeah, I've had this thing since then. It goes with me to every Bronco game. At times, there's some annoying fans behind us that they're like, "We can't see. Can you take it off?" And being the gentleman season ticket holder that I am, I oblige. But I'm a little bit less happy to do so when it was Patriots fans or, visiting fans. But yeah, it does make me a little bit taller. I'll put it that way.
Well, it looks like it's held up quite well.
I've done a lot to take care of it, but yeah, it's this is going to be my Victory Tuesday here on the podcast. Anytime the Broncos win and I'm on the pod the following Tuesday, I'll be wearing this, so you'll know it's a good start to the week if I've got this on.
Absolutely.
I love it. Coach, did you ever have one of those?
I didn't have one, but I am one of those like Vince. I have my things that I have to wear to the game. I'm changing it up a little bit from last year. So kind of, what's up?
The good luck charms, good juju. You got to put it out there.
It is. Yep. No, it's been the Elway jersey forever, and sadly, I say sadly, but I finally retired the Elway jersey for a Bo Nix jersey. I've been waiting for that guy that we could finally draft. Go to the next one. Never would I compare Bo and John by any stretch of the imagination. I grew up with John. John's my guy. But I gotta say, I'm feeling good about where Bo's at, and I'm feeling good about our path moving forward for sure. So excited about that. So yeah, finally I will be breaking out the Bo Nix jersey as the season goes on, Vince. So as we go through, that'll be the victory jersey for the show for sure.
Did you go with the home sunset orange or a different variation for the color of the Knicks jersey?
I did. I went with you know what? No, I went with the throwback. I think that's I have to stay as traditional as I possibly can with the throwback on it. Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. I like the throwback, and I'll be honest with you, I'm waiting at one point in time the Panthers turn around, and there's just too many opportunities now with being able to sell so many different goods with all the different jerseys, all the different looks. Obviously, we saw a different look during this past weekend with the white jersey and orange pants, but there's just, as Bronco fans have figured out, there's something to be said about the old logo and the throwback that people still enjoy. And I think when we go back talking about diehard fans, as we do, with this show, I think there's a lot of them still around for sure. So
What's gonna be
throwback it
crazy-
is.
What's going to be crazy to me in like 25 to 30 years when the logo that Zach is wearing on his hat is going to be considered the throwback.
It will
And
be.
yeah, that's going to be crazy to me because I remember it was such a big deal when they switched over to those uniforms and then they immediately won their first 2 Super Bowls. But every Super Bowl the Broncos have ever won have been under that logo. So maybe that changes this year. But anyways, Zach, do you have anything that you have to wear to the games? Like any one jersey or anything like that?
No, it's just some Broncos garb. Only went to one game last year, and I went with the old school D hat, which I just love. And then God, I'm such a sucker for all of the new NFL licensing agreements they've got with all different brands. Unreal, if you guys have heard of that, they're out of Minnesota, so they do a bunch of collabs with every sports team, but the Minnesota sports team get them first. But they did some really cool old school sweatshirts, the old school logo last year. So I got that and an all navy one with the updated logo. Spent way too much money there. So you guys will start seeing those in the pods. They're sweatshirts. It's too darn hot. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't bought a jersey since Manning, and I was like really, really nervous buying that. And then he played his first couple games, and I was like, yeah, we're good. I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
But I haven't bought since. Knicks would probably be it. PS2, that'd be a hot commodity.
Yep.
I don't know. Have either of you, Coach, you bought the Knicks. Vince, have you bought a recent jersey from anyone on the team?
I don't have a single jersey of an active Broncos player. The most recent Broncos player I have is Von Miller. I've always been gifted jerseys. I've always been very fortunate with people that are generous around me. But yeah, I don't. If I were to get somebody, I think it would probably be Nick Benito. There's just something about the way he plays that I love.
Just electric.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about him a little bit here in the news, but maybe
we will get
too
into
electric at times. But
too
yeah,
electric.
I do like him, but let me tell you, Jonah Coleman is off to a start where I might have to reconsider that. So
yeah. All right. Speaking of news,
Since you'd mentioned PS.
Uh-oh, Coach, we lost you.
Yeah. Zach, since you were talking about the PS2, I do have to say that I do have one I'll bring up here.
Oh,
It's
sweet.
a PS2 signed jersey. I will not be wearing to the games, guaranteed, because there's nothing more that drives me up the wall. Yeah, it drives me up the wall than to see people with signed jerseys out there. And I'm like, you are one beer away from being really upset, man. It just drives me insane to see those out there. But that was one that I happened to look into and saw him for a signing. And
yeah,
it is on the way. It is on the way here shortly to get framed. So
I love it. Well, speaking of Broncos news, and Vince, you said you haven't had a jersey since Von Miller. Von Watch is officially over, boys. After I don't know how many days, probably close to cracking 100. Oh, how are we feeling about the signing in Dallas? Coach, what do you think?
It makes sense when you sit there and saw his Instagram this week. Some of the postings that were out there, Texas kid goes home, does it right. It's great. I mean, there's a lot of stories coming out. They're really expecting some really big things out of the Cowboys, which of course, expectations are always high at the beginning of the year, and then they completely fall apart. I would say Vaughn doing this is probably his last hurrah. I don't think that, although as much as he wanted to sign with the Broncos and have that be his end all be all, I think being in Texas and being somebody that he grew up watching, I would say this was Vaughn's final way of saying, okay, the Broncos, I can't go there. So we're going to take Dallas on their 1-year deal, and this will be it to write off. Now, I am hopeful, of course, when he does finally retire, that he signs his 1 day with the Broncos and retires a Bronco. I certainly think that would be the way he would go. But yeah, it was again as much again, and I know that we'll talk a little bit about Cooper, but with that being so up in the air, kind of had that hopeful, if you will, that he would come in and take over the reins while Coop was out, if he is. And so, but to see it, it seems like the right call. Seems like the right opportunity for him to go home and stay there. So, yeah.
Yep. Vince, did you think he'd end up a Cowboy?
No, but when I saw it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. It doesn't bother me at all since they're an NFC team. Had he gone to Houston, I've been like, oh man, I don't. Especially with they felt like they were right there last year too. Better game from CJ Stroud, and they felt like they would have been on the path to the Super Bowl. So I mean, glad he didn't go there to where we might have to be dealing with him. It's always fun to make fun of the Cowboys, especially with their fan base, being as obnoxious as it is. I hope he finds personal success there. Team wise, I never hope for good things for the Cowboys. So, yeah, I was a little bit surprised. That was my initial reaction, but the more I thought about it, I was like, yeah, that feels right. And, glad he's on the AFC.
Fair. Well, wish Vaughn the best. I hope he has another monster season. He'll probably get another 8 sacks. I would not be surprised at all. He's still a legit player even at 37. But I don't think we're going to be seeing the Cowboys, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
In other news, Coach, you started bringing it up with Cooper, and that was where Von Watch really was. We saw this week James Pierce with the Falcons got suspended for 8 games. Also domestic violence. So, guys, are you thinking that that's potentially the same amount of games for Cooper? Little bit different scenarios. We won't go into that depth, but, do the Broncos have the depth to survive 8 games without Cooper, who's legit, especially across from Benito? Vince, what are your thoughts here?
I do think the Broncos have incredible depth. The one area that I think you can never have enough depth at is edge rusher when it comes to a 3-4 defense, which is why I was all right with the idea of signing Bond back as a spot rusher, bring him in pass specific scenarios. One of the things when I think of Jonathan Cooper, I think of 2 things: his elite get off of the ball, but he finishes plays. Like if he gets his hands on the quarterback or the running back in the backfield, they're going down. And I love Jonah Ellis. I want so badly for him to flash and have a big season. He looked good in this first preseason game. He creates a lot of havoc. He doesn't necessarily finish the same way Jonathan Cooper does. Maybe we'll talk about this more. They did use Alex Singleton on the edge, which I thought was surprising. That was he was a bit more of like what seemed like a 3rd or 4th string player on the edge, but I did think that was interesting because he's definitely a quick player. But I think it's hard to know for sure what we have on the edge minus Cooper. Besides Benito, I think we have people who can create pressure, but it's great to have the people who can finish, which Cooper is a finisher, as I've said. I don't know that we have that behind him besides, of course, Nick Benito.
Fair. Well, we'll see in a couple weeks here. It should be the end of the month when we find out kind of the true verdict. So time will tell. I'm hoping it's not more than 8 games. Would love 4. We will see. I think let's just jump straight into just like the hot news of the day. As we were kind of getting on right before we went live, we were all talking about it. We had a fight in practice today. Coach, why don't you break it down for us? What exactly transpired?
Yeah, so I heard of all things, again, you hear these skirmishes, you get to the point where the guys are tired of beating on each other, and you start getting these a little bit. Generally, it's between linemen, running back, linebacker, things like that. And of all things, when I heard it break out that it was Bo Nix and Nick Benito, I'm like, oh, the two guys, they're going to sit there and stand at the beginning of games and flip the coin and everything else as captains. I would see both of them being captains this year. Trying to figure out, they're trying to send a message with each other. Bo got a little feisty. He hasn't taken a hit in a minute. I think he's starting to get that little bit of antsy to get ready for the game this weekend. And so maybe that was it. I heard there was Bo thought that Nick came in a little too hard on him, and Bo came in and grabbed the legs and took him to the ground, and there was lots of guys in there. And it's, I love it. It's seeing how many times Elway would get in people's grills about stuff and telling guys where they need to be and what's going on. I'm not gonna lie, I like that fire. I don't think we've had that fire. Peyton was a different guy. Very methodical and very thoughtful going forward about what it was and his mental part of his game. And Elway was just a competitor. And I think that's why I liked Elway so much. He was a fiery guy. He had a different expectation. He wasn't afraid to get in guys' faces. And I don't know, this might be Bo's way of, this is my team. This is where we're going, and this is where it's going to be. And if we can get that competitiveness, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Nick has certainly done a great job of establishing himself on the defensive side. And I don't know that we've had that one guy that's on the offense. And Bo has done great things, and we realize the importance of Bo for sure. But now I feel like he's getting ready to take that next level. And so it's good. I like it. I'm not going to lie. As long as he doesn't get hurt in something like that, I'm all for it. If he gets hurt, then, I'm sure Sean would have a few different words to be speaking about that. And I haven't seen the press conference yet that Sean did, but kind of looking forward to see what he had to say a little bit about it as well today. So,
yeah, we had the coordinators also speak at press conferences today. Bo spoke. I mean, it wasn't a huge subject. I think people were excited for the moment and we got past it. I don't know if you guys or any of our listeners, watchers said are watching Hard Knocks with the Seattle Seahawks. Last week's episode, their kind of stud linebacker, defensive, I forgot, I think it's Devin Wright. Could be wrong. Was continuing to get close to Sam Darnold. And the coach, and you can see this on the episode, I highly recommend watching it, is just ripping this guy because he did it twice. And he got thrown out of practice. Like, obviously, you don't want to touch the QB. Right. You want to play it safe. But, Vince, what do you think? You hyped up for this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be careful with how I say this. I don't always love the idea of quarterbacks being a protected class the way that they are. I'm okay with them. I mean, like, they're going to get hit in the game. They're probably going to get hit a lot, and especially with Bo being as mobile as he is. Yep. Do you want to take that risk at practice? No, I'm not saying that, but like for quarterbacks to, this is all secondhand. I was not out there live, but I was listening to a radio station today, and they said that, he got up and he like threw a football at the defensive sideline afterwards. I mean, like, for the attitude of like, how dare I be touched? I don't love that. Going through what he went through last year with the injury, I think it makes it a lot more understandable. And he got up at the press conference and he said, like exactly what you would want a quarterback to say. And I mean, it's going to happen. These guys spend a ton of time around each other throughout the year, but like this concentrated amount of time, like I would probably be sick of seeing that, the same people as often as they are having to see them right now. And it's chippy, and all the reports have been defense by and large over training camp has gotten the best of the offense. And, you're losing probably the majority of the drills if you're the offense, and then you're Bo Nix, you're responsible for it, and then you get taken to the ground. I could see how that would bubble up really quick and him not be okay with it.
Fair. I'm all for it. I don't want to see the QB get hurt. Obviously, it's the heat of summer. It was in the 90s today. This is somewhat of the effect of not having another team that we're doing training camp with. We can't take it out on anybody else. So let's hope it's the end of it. It becomes a distraction that's really unnecessary. I think our third or fourth string center Throckmorton ended up leaving practice because he got hit, helmet off, blood out on the face. Let's just not be stupid.
Never take
I'm
your
all for
helmet
the
off
fiery
in a football
spirit.
fight.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Never take your helmet off in a football fight.
The one lesson.
Yeah.
Right.
The one lesson. All right, other news of the day. I'll just highlight some injuries, and then we'll get into the recap of the past game. A lot of our players that have been hurt really over the past week and a half, all back at practice. Waddle, Wattenberg, Forsyth, all back, all very encouraging signs, especially Waddle in pads today. Love to see that. Had a couple great catches from Bo. So that's very encouraging. It'll be interesting to see if he gets any playing time this upcoming week. And we'll talk a little bit about that in the preview. The unfortunate news that is just we're continually talking about this each training camp. Drew Sanders didn't practice today or yesterday. I got to see if he practiced today. I don't know if the reports come back on that. He gets a sack in the game last week, but we're back on the same train. The dude cannot stay healthy, which is very concerning for a guy who's got flash and promise, and he's in that depth rotation at the linebacker spot. Hopefully he can get healthy and sustain throughout the rest of the season. If not, he's going to have a very short, what could be promising but very disappointing career. Guys, what else did you see? Any other kind of big flashes at camp you read about today?
I just saw, like I said, that it's good to see these guys that are coming back from injury. It just makes us stronger. I think it's now about playing them smart, getting ready for the season. Obviously, Bo getting his first start this week, and I got to believe he's got to have the quick hook. I don't really see it. The one thing that I did hear is that the backup quarterback position now has pretty well solidified itself, and it sounds like we're on the season with Stidham. Earlier, they gave him every opportunity. Decided, for whatever reason, I think as a kid that's had ability, saw some stuff with the Colts in his time, but Stidham, maybe as much as I hate to say losing the AFC Championship, obviously for him in particular may have been a good thing. It wasn't a great thing for any of us here in Denver, but maybe that was his wake-up call. Maybe that was his piece to, okay, now I understand. I've got to be ready to go. I mean, obviously he looked great the other night, which is good because the practice I went to previously, he did not look sharp. He looked fantastic last week. And so, I think that we've got that backup guy. So it'll be interesting to see him come in relief. I don't know if they'll go to Stidham first and then go to Erlinger to clean up, or how they're going to make that, how they'll let that turn out. But it does sound like all things I heard this morning is that it's Stidham's job for the season.
Fair. Vince, anything else from you?
I just heard that Bo didn't have the best day. And I mean, I don't think anybody's going to go through training camp looking perfect. And I mean, I still think, he's not had the full off season of work. He's still sort of getting back into the swing of things. And I like Coach Cobb. Hope we see a quick hook on him on Friday, but I hope the timing is there. and we see flashes of mobility without him getting hit. I think those are the things I'm looking for, because I think his ability to connect with his receivers will be established over time, but those things are, you want to see those in place sooner than later, in my opinion.
Yep. Very fair.
Well, the one thing I will add to that as a dig into the Chiefs is I haven't seen Bo hit one of his linemen in the back of the head. So I feel he's doing a good job with that. And we're rolling at that point. So sorry, Mahomes fans out there if you're out there. But yeah, haven't seen him hit a lineman in the back of the head. So we're good there.
Fair. Well, guys, I'm eager to get your takes on the game from last week. So let's start. We'll each take a different positional group. Would love a grade, and then some of the kind of standouts that you saw, what you're intrigued by, disappointed by, anything with that. Vince, start with you. You're up first. You get to pick the group.
All right. Well, I'm going to talk about the tight ends specifically because it was underwhelming. Like I thought Evan Ingram was fine. Like he didn't do anything that was notable or special, but I think he was there for Stidham the times that Stidham looked his way, and great. That's not necessarily what we're paying him, the level of money that we're paying him for, but at least he didn't do himself a disservice. I'll put it that way, but nothing flashed. I was really excited to see Jolie. I'll be honest, he's much more of a project than I initially anticipated.
He's raw.
What I thought he did well is there's a lot of designed runs for Ellinger, and they pulled him a lot from the opposite side of the formation and kind of got him out on the bootleg in front of Ellinger, not as a pass option, but as a blocker. When he's moving, he's good as a blocker. He was getting out there and he was making contact with the first person who flashed from the inside, whether it was an outside linebacker or a safety. He did good there. When he's attached to the line and there's a run play and he's got to go to the second level, he whiffed a lot. And that was, I didn't know what he was going to look like as a blocker, and I was a bit surprised at how much he whiffed on the blocks. I know that's not the reason why we drafted him, but we also didn't get to see him flash for the reasons why we drafted him. And so I classic overreaction to one preseason game, but I'm worried we're gonna have another subpar year of tight end play. And I just, we've had some really fun tight ends over the years. Obviously, Shannon Sharp being up there, but Julius Thomas put up some incredible years. I miss having a capable tight end who could win one-on-one matches. I don't know that we have that on the roster right now. And so as a tight end group, I'm going to generously say a C- in terms of a grade, because I think it could have been worse, but it wasn't great either. If C is average, I think it was a smidge below average what I saw out of the tight end group.
Yep. I think you bring up a great point with Jolie. Like, he's going to have to make a big splash to even get playing time. We know what Troutman is.
Right.
We generally know what Ingram is, unless, Davis Webb has got some concoction that we're going to start playing in week 6 of the season and Ingram just lights it up. Now, one thing that could be interesting is we've got some now targets all over the field, especially the addition of Waddle. We'll talk a little bit about Jenna Coleman in a minute. Maybe he's the one guy that's not covered and he does break out and has a 6-touchdown season. That'd probably be pretty impressive for him. But I generally feel the same about that. So we'll see. Coach Cobb, positional group, side of the ball. What intrigued you?
Yeah. Well, you talked about Coleman and where we'll get to the running backs. The story I heard this week that I thought was interesting, I guess I didn't realize in watching those guys, it was great to see. There was two directions really on the running game. Obviously with Coleman, it was funny to hear Sean saw him do his 4 plays and said, "That's exactly what I saw." And we're pulling him. We're giving him the quick hook on that. That's all he needed to see. The one guy that was a bummer for me was Jaleel McLaughlin. I thought Jaleel had some good runs. In seeing Jaleel in the past, why we didn't use him more last year never made sense to me with some of the things that happened. And I've seen flashes of Jaleel that seems like he could be really special, do some things that are really great. And I just didn't, I don't know. He put the ball on the ground, obviously. Had a couple good runs here and there, but nothing that I felt. I felt for Jaleel, he took a step back. And that was kind of a bummer with that one. The kid that, sorry, I'm looking at my notes over here. He was Cody Schrader that we got. He was with the Rams for a short bit of time.
Mhm.
Guy ran hard. Holy cow, that kid ran hard. And so I think you've got, again, it obviously comes down to how many receivers are going to keep, how many tight ends, because gosh knows we've got a ton of tight ends with all the 1-year signings that we did early on. How many running backs do we keep? JK obviously has the injury. RJ looked good at times. I don't think they put in the full complement for offense for him just yet, and what they want to do specifically with him. And then, Jonah, that was something else. But so from a grade standpoint, I'd have to give it a B. I thought we had a good run game. Oh, and then the fullback. Oh, dear goodness. The fullback looked great. It's good to see that we're going to, hopefully that's something that we're going to keep. Back in the day when we had Howard Griffith and such, we always had a capable fullback, and I'd love to see that again. So from that one, I'd have to give a B. Probably. I think that there's some good things that came out of it. And, I know it's first preseason game, but hopefully we'll see some great things coming out, especially, it gives hope to think about what JK is going to look like once he gets in there and see what he's going to do this year.
Yeah. Payne has pretty much come out and said that he plans on keeping a fullback. And so I think Adam Prentice will be there. So again, as you were alluding to, that's one less spot in the jigsaw of roster composition, but that is Adam Prentice at fullback, former CSU Ram, even though he finished his career at South Carolina. So I will continuously mention any CSU Ram anytime I get a chance to.
I love it. I am going to take our offensive coordinator and coaching as a group. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, it's still preseason, and let's be honest, the Falcons aren't a very good team, especially when they're not playing their key starters. But it seemed crisp. I liked the way Davis Webb called basically the first half. I think it was effective.
Mm-hmm.
He did a nice job with Stidham. And I mean, Stidham's kind of got that nervous energy. I kind of felt it in the playoff game, and probably the reason why we scored. And there was promise, and we're like, oh, okay, we got this, And if there's no snowstorm, we may be having a different conversation. But I thought it was controlled, and I'm really excited to see it with Bo this week because obviously I think Bo and Davis Webb have even a stronger connection. And definitely a reason why he's still with the Broncos and became the actual play caller, not just an offensive coordinator in title like Sean Payton's former cronies. But I thought it was a real nice mix of plays. It didn't seem as predictable to me as some of the other Sean Payton's kind of opening series, which is a theme of they wanted to get started faster. So I'm excited to see, do we build on that for this week, especially with Bowen? So I'm going to give him an A- for his. Now, this is not his first game that he actually called because he did have a game last preseason. but this is the first one with his actual job being what it is. So I was pretty impressed with that. I thought the other coaches were locked in. I mean, Vance Joseph D again proves like we're so lucky to have him as the defensive coordinator again. I hope he gets a shot. I don't know if he's ever going to be an incredible head coach. I think it's difficult to do that. But we held the Falcons 59 yards on the ground. A lot of great coaching there. He emphasized today in his press conference, like takeaways are still key. We probably dropped another 2 interceptions. So I was impressed with the coaching unit, and first time with Sean Payton taking his hands off the wheel. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. That was one thing I had mentioned last week is when we talked about hot takes and what we hope to see was seeing a fast start. And like you said, Zach, that was where we're at. And I was super excited to see that. And then to just see the ball keep rolling through the game, until it bogged down a little bit in the third and fourth quarter. But we got off to see that start was just something else with the offense. And we'll see how it goes this week, but if we can see that continue week in and week out, I think we got something pretty special for sure.
Yep, agreed. All right, gents, play of the game or biggest surprise of the game? Coach, we'll start with you.
Well, you gave me the easy one then. The tip to Barron for the 97-yard pick. It was nice to see. I was sitting there thinking about that as you were talking about the coaching and as the game went on. And I can't remember the last time that I've seen a tip to the cornerback to be able to do that. It's nice to see everybody getting in the mix. And Reed was certainly excited about it, had a lot of good things in the presser afterwards. And just talking about how that team works together and everything else. And of course, Jahdae, now they turn around and talk about how we get back to talking about the first round pick. And is Jahdae going to step up? Is he going to be that guy? And well, I'll tell you what, speed wise, that was amazing. That was great. So, that was my play of the game that I was pretty excited about to see. Like I said, they emphasized, Vance Joseph was emphasizing turnovers this year. They know they can get to the quarterback. They know they got the sacks. Now we need to get the ball back in the offense's hands as much as we can. And that was a heck of a start for sure.
Love it. Epic play. Jahdae was running fast on that one. I think they clocked him at 21 miles per hour. I think there was like 3 players from last season that eclipsed 21. PS2 was one of them on one of his interceptions on a return. So, Barron needed that. He needs to continue to stack these if he's going to have a shot. So very, very exciting there. Vince, what about you?
Yeah, I think that's clearly the play of the game. And Torian Reed, so forgive me if I'm not saying his first name right, but spectacular effort on the inside as a linebacker to jump in front of that and get the tip. I'd say, sorry, what was the other one? Biggest surprise?
Biggest surprise or play that you thought was impactful?
Oh man, that's a good one. I'm going to say I think it was surprising to me how stark the contrast was between our depth versus the Falcons. And I mean, Granted, like the Falcons were not a great organization last year, and they've not been for a little while. But they're both NFL teams. Both sides get paid, and the difference between us and them, like, it was bad. And I mean, there was 2 botched field goals. One was a miss, and the other one was a bad snap. And so, I mean, you're taking 6 points off the board there. We're probably gifting them 7 with the McLaughlin fumble. And so, I mean, this easily could have been a 33-0 game.
Mm-hmm.
If, everything went perfect. Broncos way, like I think it could have been at least 33-0. So I mean, that's a stark contrast. I mean, that's I think back to where we were pre-Sean Payton, and if you've watched this show and I've been on, there's a chance that I've made some sort of comment that has alluded to I'm not the biggest Sean Payton fan. The one thing I will say is he knows personnel, and the Paytons knew what needed to happen, and they started stockpiling talent in every which way that they could. I mean, we're talking about picking people up from practice squads. They orchestrated trades. They've done all right in the draft. They've done everything you can to this point where now it feels like we're oozing talent. And these lower tier NFL teams, I feel like a lot of them are going to be going through the dredges of our cuts to add depth to their teams, because especially on the defense, there's going to be some ball players who aren't going to be on this 53-man roster and aren't going to make it back to our practice squad because other teams are going to want them. And so, I mean, to me, that's a big deal. And it's fun to see that.
That was a drudging of a team. And I'm right there with you. Like, they're still professionals. We were just in complete command of that game, which was incredibly exciting. Eric's chiming in. Cortland's one-handed grab. Loved that. Just old reliable, where he needs to be. It's so close to actually catching that touchdown, near the 1 yard line. So very, very impactful. He's going to get all of the same amount of targets this year. There's no doubt about that. And might even have a better season with Waddle drawing some other top DBs across the field. So really exciting there. My surprise, Red Murdoch calling the plays on defense. This is definitely the future. Like, here is, if he continues to excel and learn, and he needs to get some real game playing time once we get into the regular season. He's going to make mistakes. The teams are good at scheming. But if he continues down this trajectory, if they already think he's this smart and he can start calling plays and have command of the defense, here is your replacement for an Alex Singleton, a Justin Trinad. Like, I'm stoked about Red coming in, which will be really exciting.
Yeah, Zach, if I could build off of your point, I heard Vance Joseph's interview today, sort of talking about Red calling the plays. It wasn't just that he was calling the plays; he was responsible for the checks and making sure that the front seven alignment was correct based off of the formation that the offense was showing, and Red was responsible for that too. So I mean, like, this is a guy who has been in the NFL for like the shortest amount of time possible to this point of the season, and yet it is quarterbacking the second unit of the defense, and seems like he would very well be the next man up if one of our two inside linebackers get dinged up the way that you're talking about. That's pretty impressive. And I mean, it's not like Vance Joseph's defense is simple or run of the mill.
No, they're scheming and throwing players in and out. So really, really encouraging. That is the future before our eyes. And so, like, if this hits, that's another Peyton masterclass in the draft.
Yeah.
So,
well, I go back to what you said earlier, Vince, and talk about Alex Singleton then again being on the outside, and talk about building the defense. And oh my God, the pieces you have to put together now to be able to put these different packages, getting Alex coming off the outside, getting Red coming up through the middle, getting Jahdae coming through and doing some special things from the nickel package. And what a great opportunity to be in right now, to be on that defense and be able to learn and do some of the things that they're able to do that they haven't been able to do in the past. So.
Spot on. Gents, we got about 10 minutes left. Let's look to Friday's game against the Packers, our first home preseason game. Some early predictions. Obviously, Bo's going to be the one most talked about. Vince, how long is Bo playing? What do you want to see out of him in Friday's game?
How long will he play? I mean, I read something today that said Champagne was looking for 15 plays from the starting defensive unit, and it took them like I think 5 or 6 series to get those 15 plays because they were just so dominant. They kept getting 3 and outs. I bring that up because people like Champagne, I think, have a fairly systematic way of approaching things. I would say 15 is probably the cap, 15 plays for Bo. If they have one, like if the defense starts first and they cause a punt and the Broncos, fair catch the ball at the 10-yard line and Bo leads a 90-yard drive, I feel like that's all we would see of him. If we see one prolonged drive, and we see some mobility out of him, we see the timings there, what more could you really ask for at this point? I think that is both what I am hoping to see, one good drive, and knowing that his mobility is still there and that he has an understanding with his new weapons.
I like it. Coach, you feeling roughly the same?
Yeah, I do. As Vince was as he was going through that was my thought. As we had, what was it, six plays for 69 yards and a touchdown on that first series. And I could totally see that in that situation. That he turns around, has a master of the offense, going through, hitting the targets he needs to go down and score. And I think that'd be the end of his night, which again would be great to get that and be able to finish up. Otherwise, I can't see more than 2 series at the best and go ahead and pull him. And again, you got to make sure that I don't know. I guess you give Erlinger one more chance. And obviously he'll play for both the last 2 preseason games. But I kind of real quick just want to throw out there, thinking about the backup. We've heard talk about Taysom Hill. And I can't help but wonder if we're not going to get anything on that third quarterback play, how much Taysom might be hanging around Denver as well a little bit. So we'll see with that. But yeah, I think that's the quick hook for Bo is probably the best, and let him. Now that he got hit in practice, obviously thanks to Benito today, maybe you give him hit by a little something else, and then pull him as quick as you can. So.
Yep, I think that's right. Packers obviously a better offense than the Falcons. Again, it's preseason. We'll see how long the Jordan Love plays and some of their other targets. Defense predictions. Is there a player either of you are kind of looking for to really step up and make another play and continue? Is that like a Barron, or is there someone we haven't really been talking about that you want to see more out of against the Packers?
I'm going to go out there and throw sort of 2 predictions out there. I think Nick Benito is going to carry his pissed off energy into this Friday's preseason game and get maybe not a sack, but at least one pretty good shot on Jordan Love. I think we'll see that. And I think Riley Moss did not have his best game against the Packers this past season, and I think his revenge tour of sorts is going to continue. He's had a great camp. He had that really nice interception this past Friday. I say nice because the ball was behind him. He stuck out his hands. He looked like a receiver doing it. He made a great play on it. I think he comes up with at least 1 or 2 pass breakups or even an interception in 1 to 2 drives. And I think those 2 guys stand out on the defense against a really good Packers offense.
I like those predictions. Gosh, Coach, you were talking about some of our linebacker depth. I mean, Moss and Jaquan McMillan, those dudes continue to ball out. They're both going to get paid. And I don't even know if we're going to be able to get one of them with the money they're going to get. So that's going to be really interesting. But yeah, I hope this season is like the complete revenge tour, as you say, Vince, for Mr. Riley Moss. Get back at some of the refs that have been targeting him in some of the games, and he just turns that energy into more picks, more impactful plays. Coach, any defensive players that you're really wanting to evaluate in this week's game?
I'd like to continue. Like I said, the one part to think about the game with Riley Moss and to find out that he led the team in tackles, he did it so quietly, and I would like to. I'd like to see some like major impact plays out of him for sure this weekend, and just hear the announcers announcing his name and really talking big about him and getting him going. Like I said, and to finish the game, it's like, really, he led the team in tackles. He's in there. He's scrappy if he's calling it. I would like to see him take that next step. I'd like to see him start making himself get ready to be a household name. The other one is I'm pretty excited about that I keep hearing more and more about as we talk about Benito and such, Zach Allen. I've heard nothing but good things out of Zach, and I would love this season to see the Zach Allen of old. I'd like him to go out and be dominant like he was when J.J. Watt was around and a couple of those guys. And if I honestly think, our defensive line has looked great. Our interior line, they've talked a lot about them and looking good. And I think if they can do their job and Zach Allen can come out and have a big year, man, you're running into a problem. Cooper, Benito, Zach Allen, this defense is just, it could be one of the best. It really could be one of the best since, and Needham, the Orange Crush 3.0, if you want to. I would love to see it, and I'm all for it for sure.
I like it. I completely forgot. We lost Lavelle Bailey after the Falcons game. Fortunately, broke his leg. We don't know. It was a fracture. I don't know exactly where. It doesn't sound like it's season ending at this moment, but he'll miss extended time. So I'm curious to see who kind of steps up in his place. Drew Sanders, we talked a little bit about him earlier. Does he play? That'll be interesting. Jordan Turner was kind of finally cleared for action. Torian York. I'd like to see kind of those guys step up in this game, and we'll see who's going to be filling in Lavelle Bailey's shoes. If not, this could be a potential acquisition on the open market of some depth linebackers who are available. So very curious about that piece. Guys, we've got 2 minutes left. Final predictions for scores. Broncos, Packers, 7 p.m. at our lovely stadium. Should be a beautiful night. What are we thinking?
Anytime you ask me to score for a preseason game, I'm going to predict a tie. Just because. I'm going to say 19-19, 2 touchdowns, a field goal for each team, and each team gets a safety. Because why not?
I love it.
Especially with the long snapping, which, I made a joke about that last week. The rookie long snapper is going to send one over Crawshaw's head through the back of the end zone, and that's how the Packers get a safety. That's what I'm going to say.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm going to go 28-17 Broncos.
Okay.
I think the offense is going to continue to roll. Like you said, the defense or the Packers are a much better team. But I'm hoping that the roll from last week just continues on and we just start getting better and better each week. And defense, if they give up 17, it's probably somewhere in the third and fourth quarter like it was last week.
Yep. I'm going to go 34-17. Bo a touchdown and a field goal with the first team. And then Jarrett scores once, and then Ellinger picks up the rest. Maybe another defensive touchdown. That'd be kind of fun. But I really like Vince's 19-19. The receipts will be had, and you will be crowned. We might have to get you another hat or something special if this game ends in 19-19 with that wild prediction.
Awesome.
I love it. I love it. Well, Broncos country, thank you for tuning in tonight. Excited for Friday's game, and we will see you all next week. We'll break down that game, and then we will be doing predictions for our final preseason tune-up before we get into the regular season. Remember to like, follow us, subscribe. Please continue to spread the good word out there. As we get closer to the season, we want more fan interaction. So please tell your friends and your family. But Broncos country, thank you again, and have a good rest of your night.